On August 9, 2024, VOPAS Flight 2283 was cruising at 17,000 feet. The ATR-72 twin-engine turboprop was flying directly into an area of forecast severe icing. Severe icing occurs when ice accumulates so rapidly that onboard systems cannot clear it, allowing a frozen layer to bridge the airframe. Wings rely on a precise curve to fly. Ice destroys that geometry, separating airflow. Drag increases massively, and the lift vector collapses. This creates a physical trap. Because the misshapen wing is less efficient, the plane must move much faster just to stay aloft. This drastically raises the aircraft's stall speed, narrowing the margin between steady flight and a catastrophic drop. Survival in these conditions depends on recognizing system warnings immediately and taking specific actions to increase speed or descend. To understand how Flight 2283 reached its limit, we have to look at the divergence between these aerodynamic requirements and the actual decisions made in the cockpit. The hazard began before the engines even started. The crew was dispatched with one air conditioning pack inoperative. This mechanical limitation restricted their maximum altitude, legally locking them into the exact flight level where the severe icing was most concentrated. At 15:15, the crew toggled the airframe de-icing system on. Less than a minute later, a system fault chime sounded. The crew noted the error, and the de-icing system was turned off and left inactive. For the next hour, the electronic ice detector alerted the crew repeatedly. By 16:17, the intermittent signals became a continuous, steady warning. Ice was aggressively and visibly building on the aircraft. By 16:18, airframe drag took a toll. Airspeed decayed to 191 knots, triggering a cruise speed low alert. 1 minute later, airspeed hit 184 knots, triggering a degraded performance alert. The first officer acknowledged the severity, stating there was a lot of icing. Despite these blaring alarms, the crew did not execute emergency power increases or initiate a descent. Instead, the cockpit voice recorder shows the first officer remained focused on routine arrival coordination with company dispatchers on the ground. The crew was experiencing plan continuation bias, the psychological tendency to stick to a pre-established plan even as the environment turns lethal. This distraction blinded them to the reality that their aircraft was rapidly bleeding energy. At 16:20, air traffic control instructed the flight to maintain 17,000 feet due to conflicting traffic below. The crew accepted the instruction. They did not declare an emergency or request a priority descent out of the ice. The pilots then initiated a 30-degree right turn toward their next navigation waypoint. Banking an aircraft increases the aerodynamic load on the wings. For an iced-up plane already starved of speed, this turn pushed the stall speed even higher. At 6:20:57, the airspeed plummeted to 169 knots. The increased speed alert triggered, followed immediately by severe airframe vibrations and the physical shaking of the control stick. The right wing stalled. The aircraft rolled violently and entered a horizontal flat spin. The pilots never made the necessary nose-down inputs. Without these corrections, the aircraft remained locked in the fatal rotation. The aircraft completed 5 full rotations before impacting the ground in Vigneto. The crash was the kinetic conclusion of ignoring a sequence of escalating technical alarms until the airframe reached its absolute physical limit. This tragedy is a textbook example of the Swiss cheese model. It demonstrates that disasters occur when multiple independent safety barriers fail in a specific sequence, allowing a hazard to pass through the gaps in every layer. The first failed barrier was organizational. Dispatching a mechanically limited aircraft into a severe weather zone removed the crew's best safety option, altitude flexibility, before they even left the ground. The second barrier was technical. The airframe de-icing system faulted and remained deactivated, allowing ice to physically reshape the wings while the plane remained in the hazard zone. The final barrier was human. Distraction and alarm fatigue led the crew to ignore 3 consecutive speed warnings. The holes aligned, and the hazard became a catastrophe. This highlights the necessity of a verification culture. In any high-stakes workplace, when a safety system faults or an alarm triggers, the operation must be halted to verify safety. Simply turning off the alarm is never a solution. It also reinforces the role of stop work authority. The pilots had the power to break this chain at any point by declaring a pan-pan emergency, which would have forced air traffic control to prioritize their immediate descent. Major accidents are rarely singular events. They are the result of a shared loss of situational awareness between humans and their machines. A resilient safety culture requires the courage to recognize a deteriorating environment and stop the operation before the physics take over.